King Kong's iconic roar isn't from a gorilla. These are 20 secrets that completely change how you watch this movie. Number 20. Peter Jackson was actually offered King Kong back in the 1990s. By the time Jackson came back to the project in 2003, he had unlimited creative credibility, a world-class effects studio at his disposal, and 2 decades of pent-up passion for this story.
Luckily, we had Lord of the Rings in development at the same time, so we jumped onto that, got that done, and...
Number 19. That iconic roar? Not a gorilla, not even close. Kong's roar was built by sound designer Mike Hopkins and his team from a blend of multiple animal sounds. It has power, but also this strange undertone of sadness to it. Kong's roar doesn't make you think, what animal is that? It makes you feel the size of him, the weight of him. And underneath all that, something almost mournful.
Out of your mind!
That's not an accident. That's design.
We're millionaires, boys. I'll share it with all of you.
Number 18. The scene where the crew falls into a pit wasn't invented for the 2005 film. It's actually a resurrection of a deleted scene from the original 1933 King Kong. Director Marion Cooper cut it, and the footage was eventually lost entirely. Jackson brought it back. He didn't just reference it, he recreated the full thing for the extended cut, and even rebuilt the original version in stop motion for the DVD as a tribute. Hold on, have you actually watched the extended cut of this film? What I'm about to tell you changes whether you've seen the real version or not, because the decisions Jackson made, they're not just additions, they're corrections to cinema history. Number 17. Not one frame of the 1930s Manhattan sequences was shot in actual New York City. The entire city, the streets, the interiors, the period-accurate storefronts, the cars, was constructed in Wellington, New Zealand. The production design team built a Depression-era New York from scratch on the other side of the world. Period newspapers, working lampposts, detailed storefront windows. They were creating a city that hadn't existed for 70 years, in a country where it had never existed at all. And the craziest part is still to be revealed. Local New Zealanders kept showing up as extras, and the costume department had to teach them how to walk like 1930s Americans. They had walking coaches on set, literal movement specialists whose job was to make 21st century humans move like people from the 1930s. Think about that. Jackson cared enough about authenticity of gait to hire coaches. That's obsessive in the best way possible. And what's coming in the next 5 beats gets stranger. Because the decisions that shaped this film weren't just about scale. They were about obsession. And obsession leaves fingerprints you can actually see on screen. Number 16. This one's subtle, but it says a lot about the craft involved. The filmmakers made a deliberate choice to keep the color orange entirely out of the lighting and set palette during scenes with Naomi Watts. Why? Because orange tones on camera were washing out her striking blue eyes, and the whole emotional language of Andaro depended on her eyes reading as expressive and fragile. So they just removed an entire color from her world. This is why Andaro's scenes feel so different from the rest of the film without you realizing it. Your brain processes her as more vulnerable because her world literally looks colder. Every choice was in service of how you'd feel watching her. Think about that level of detail on a film this size.
Against her better judgment.
She falls in love.
Number 15. The real Empire State Building took 410 days to construct. 410 days. For a 102-story skyscraper that held the title of world's tallest building for 4 decades. Now consider this. The digital recreation of it for Kong's final climb took 18 months. I mean, the team at Weta Digital was rebuilding every ledge, every setback, every stone detail at a resolution where you'd be able to see it from 8 inches away on a cinema screen. The real builders didn't have that problem. They built it once. Jackson's team built it, rendered it, tested it, re-rendered it, adjusted lighting, tested again. 18 months for a building that exists only in digital space. The real one was built faster. Let that sink in. Number 14. Jack Black's character Carl Denham isn't just a filmmaker.
Right. It has a local name, but I'm warning you, Jack, it doesn't sound good.
He's a commentary on a specific type of filmmaker. The ambitious visionary who exploits everything and everyone around him in pursuit of spectacle, and then retreats behind art when it all goes wrong. Critics and cast members have drawn comparisons to Orson Welles, to the larger-than-life showman of early Hollywood who chased grandeur at any cost. The final line of the film, "It wasn't the airplanes, it was beauty killed the beast," isn't a eulogy. It's Denham deflecting blame.
It wasn't the airplanes. It was beauty killed the beast.
He made Kong's death happen, and he knows it. And that's exactly why Jackson cast Jack Black, because he needed someone who could make you like Denham even as you're watching him do terrible things. It works almost too well.
Look, chocolate. Chocolate?
This character complexity matters, because it sets up the next secret. Jackson needed an actor capable of manipulating audience sympathy, which connects directly to understanding why the motion capture performance work. The technology that followed became so revolutionary, because if you can make people empathize with Jack Black's morally compromised filmmaker, imagine what happens when you make them empathize with a 25-foot digital gorilla. 13. The ship was real. A lot of people assume the SS Venture was pure CGI. The deck scenes, at least, were not. The production built a full-scale ship deck set with green screen standing in for the ocean behind it. Actors had real ropes, real metal, real physical environment to play against. This is actually one of the reasons the early shipboard scenes feel grounded in a way that big blockbusters often don't. The actors weren't performing against nothing. They were on something that moved, that creaked, that existed. Jackson actually got seasick filming on the ship set. They had it on hydraulics to simulate ocean movement, and even the director couldn't handle it. There's behind-the-scenes footage of him looking green between takes. The man who spent 2 years building a digital Empire State Building couldn't handle the motion of a practical ship for more than a few hours. Which brings us to the one creative decision that changed how you see the film's emotional core, even if you don't realize it's happening.
I don't give a damn about God in it. I want the ship fixed and ready to float on the next high tide.
Number 12. The Skull Islanders weren't a quick costume job. Weta Workshop built unique looks for dozens of individual tribe members, hand-knotted wigs, custom-made jewelry, and waterproof skin makeup specifically formulated because so many scenes involved rain and practical water effects. Each person was meant to look like they'd lived on Skull Island their whole life. Weathered, worn, terrifying in a way that felt real rather than theatrical. When you see a Skull Islander on screen for literally 5 seconds, that's weeks of work. That's design. That's commitment to a world.
All right. Just a bunch of women and old folks.
Number 11. Stop. Before the budget numbers. Because most people skip past this part, and it's actually the key to understanding why this film is different from every other blockbuster made in the same era. The theatrical version of King Kong runs 3 hours and 8 minutes. That wasn't even the plan going in. During production, Jackson extended the runtime by 30 minutes, expanding character arcs and deepening the New York and Skull Island sequences. The budget swelled alongside it, from an already enormous $150 million to a then-record $207 million. Universal executives were reportedly timing Jackson's cuts with stopwatches during screenings. Every time he'd add a scene, they'd literally be calculating how many fewer screenings they could fit per day. Universal was not thrilled, but Jackson had the creative leverage post-Lauder to push through, and the studio ultimately let him run.
Don't we have a stand-in for this type of thing? I need you in the shot when people will say they're fake.
Number 10. Universal thought they were funding a monster movie. They weren't. That $207 million figure made King Kong one of the most expensive films ever produced at the time of its release. For context, Lord of the Rings: Return of the King, which won 11 Academy Awards, cost $94 million. Kong cost more than twice that, and it still grossed over $550 million worldwide, which means Universal made their money back. But the budget ballooning was a genuine crisis point in production. There were real conversations about whether the film could survive financially. But here's what the budget numbers don't tell you. Universal wasn't just nervous about the cost. They were nervous about the concept. Because by 2003, blockbuster audiences had moved past monster movies as intimate character pieces. Godzilla had proven that audiences wanted spectacle, sure, but not emotional weight. The studio's data suggested this film was betting against market trends. Jackson's response? He doubled down. Every dollar added wasn't for more explosions. It was for detail that viewers wouldn't consciously register, but would emotionally feel. The walking coaches in New Zealand, the hand-knotted wigs on tribe members, the 132 sensors on Circus's face, none of those were required. They were chosen. And this is where the story gets interesting. Production assistant journals from the set, some later published in behind-the-scenes books, reveal that Jackson had a standing meeting every Friday where crew members could pitch ideas for any scene if they believed it would deepen emotional truth, regardless of budget impact. One costume designer suggested the waterproof makeup formula for rain scenes. One set decorator insisted on period-accurate newspapers in background storefronts. Jackson approved them all. The studio was literally paying for obsession. And obsession isn't always efficient. But obsession is what makes films legendary.
You don't want to be on this shit the rest of your life.
Number 9. In fan communities discussing this film, the bug pit sequence comes up again and again. Not just as a favorite scene, but as a genuine childhood scar. People mention seeing it at age 10 or 11 and having recurring nightmares. They describe it as feeling wrong for a PG-13 blockbuster. Too slow, too quiet, too real. The sequence doesn't rely on jump scares. It's patient. Creatures crawl. Men realize what's happening before anything actually attacks. Apparently, theater managers got complaints from parents about the scene being too realistic. The line between movie and reality blurred for a generation of kids, and they're still talking about it in 2026. What do you think is the scariest sequence in the film? The bug pit, the V-Rex fight, or something else? Let me know in the comments. Number 8. These days, behind-the-scenes content is standard promotional material. In 2005, it wasn't. Jackson published serialized production diaries, video logs, essentially, online and on DVD throughout the making of Kong before the film had even released. Fans were watching the film be built in real time. Jackson was basically running the first movie blog without realizing it. Fans were refreshing the website daily, and some superfans started their own analysis threads breaking down each diary entry frame by frame. This wasn't just marketing, it was community building before social media made it standard. It's a strategy that feels obvious now, but Jackson was genuinely ahead of the curve. He understood that the audience for Kong wasn't just interested in the finished product. They wanted to be inside the process. They wanted access. They wanted to feel like collaborators, even if they were just watching.
What is it? What is it? Where's Carl? Carl? He's up there. Filming.
Number 7. If you know the original, King Kong 2005 is dense with callbacks. There are prop references, there are line deliveries that echo the original, and there are 2 moments in particular that most people completely miss. The first, Denham rattles off a list of actresses he could cast and drops the name Faye, a direct nod to Fay Wray, the original Ann Darrow. But the second one is actually stronger. When Preston tells Denham that Faye is unavailable, she's doing a picture with RKO, Denham mutters, "Cooper, huh? I might have known." That's a reference to Marion C. Cooper, the director of the original 1933 film.
Yes, she is, but she's doing a picture with RKO. Cooper, huh?
Jackson hid him in the script as a rival filmmaker stealing his actress. 2 Easter eggs in the same exchange. Most viewers catch neither. And here's why the Faye reference hits differently when you know the full story. Fay Wray was actually supposed to have a cameo in the 2005 film. Jackson invited her. She passed away in August 2004, before filming wrapped. The reference stayed in as a tribute. That single line, just a name dropped casually in a throwaway conversation, is Jackson saying goodbye to the actress who defined Kong for a generation. That's not a detail. That's a memorial.
Girl, that'll fit into Maureen's costumes. Phase a size 4.
Number 6. Andy Serkis's full-body performance as Kong is justifiably praised. But the granular detail of how it was captured is something else. The motion capture rig for Kong's face used 132 individual sensors, not broad zones, individual points, tracking micro-expressions across Serkis's face, so the animators at Weta could translate genuine emotional nuance into a 25-foot digital creature. Serkis had to perform Kong's emotional scenes multiple times, once at human scale for the sensors, then again at Kong scale for the animators to understand the size difference. He literally had to act in the same scene as both a person and a 25-foot gorilla. The emotional complexity required was astronomical. That technology was so advanced for 2005 that it directly influenced the development of the performance capture work on Avatar and the Caesar trilogy in Planet of the Apes, a franchise that was essentially built on proving Serkis could carry a film this way. It all starts with Kong. Number 5. The story is set in 1933, and Watts took that seriously. She studied silent films and early talkies extensively, screen tests, acting techniques. The way emotion was projected before sound design could do half the work. The gestures, the stillness, the way she uses her face during the quieter scenes with Kong. That's deliberate period research, not instinct. It's one of the reasons the Ann Darrow character doesn't feel like a modern actress playing dress-up. But here's what's crucial. This isn't just trivia about an actor's preparation.
Is the way you captured the voice of the common people.
Well, that's my job.
This is foundational to understanding why the final 20 minutes of this film destroy people emotionally. You need restraint. You need the kind of quiet emotional vulnerability that only comes from understanding how actors in 1933 conveyed devastation with a single look. Jackson understood that. He hired an actress who would respect the era as much as the character. That's why watching her face in Kong's hand, that moment where you see her realize what's about to happen, hits harder than it should. It's not just acting, it's historical acting, performed by someone who studied how to break an audience's heart without raising her voice. 2 beats left before the thing that most people who love this film still don't know about. And I promise it recontextualizes everything we've been talking about. Number 4. The V-Rex. The larger, more aggressive dinosaur species that fights Kong wasn't just a bigger T-Rex with a scarier name. The creature design team at Weta worked with actual paleontological logic. If a population of large theropods had been isolated on Skull Island for millions of years, how might they have evolved? The answer involved longer limbs for dense jungle terrain, different jaw mechanics, adapted sensory features. The entire Skull Island ecosystem was built on that principle. Real evolutionary pressure applied to fictional animals. There's an entire ecology document in the DVD special features that maps it out. The V-Rex design was so scientifically accurate that actual paleontologists started using stills from the movie in presentations about theropod evolution. A Hollywood monster became educational material. The paleontologist community actually took notice. Consulting researchers who worked with Weta later published academic papers citing the creature's biomechanics as plausible. That doesn't happen with blockbuster monsters. This is important because it reflects Jackson's entire production philosophy. Nothing is arbitrary. The V-Rex could have just been a bigger, angrier T-Rex. Instead, Jackson and Weta asked, what would evolution actually do? The entire film is built on that principle. Treat the fictional world with more respect than it deserves, and the audience will feel that respect. Honestly, that document alone is worth tracking down if you're into this kind of thing. Number 3. This one deserves its own discussion, honestly. The 1933 spider pit sequence, the one Cooper cut because it was too disturbing, is essentially lost to film history. No surviving print is known to exist, but Jackson and Weta recreated it from production notes and still photographs. It's not a homage. It's closer to an act of film preservation, reconstructing a piece of cinema history that audiences in 1933 never got to see in its complete form. That sequence exists on the extended cut DVD, and almost no one talks about it. Jackson didn't just make a King Kong movie, he brought back scenes that had been lost for 70 years. That's not filmmaking, that's archaeology. If you've seen both versions, which spider pit hits harder? Jackson's 2005 version or his recreation of the 1933 original?
With a woman before.
I guess you don't think much of women on ships, eh?
Number 2. The 1976 remake of King Kong is largely forgotten. It's not beloved, it's not influential, it's not particularly referenced. Kong, as a character, had faded. He was a relic. The 2005 film changed that. $550 million at the box office, millions of DVD sales, critical reappraisal, and, maybe most importantly, it planted the seed for an entire new generation of fans who grew up defending this movie, arguing for it online, insisting it belongs in conversations about the best blockbusters ever made. The character had to be reproven as a viable modern icon. This film did that. It took a 1933 creature and made him matter again in 2005. That's cultural resurrection. Number 1. Here's what fans in 2026 keep coming back to when they talk about this film. It's not the budget. It's not the effects. It's not the Skull Island action, as stunning as all of that is. It's the last 20 minutes. Kong on top of the Empire State Building, Anne's face, the biplanes, and the fall. Jackson wasn't remaking a monster movie. He was retelling a tragedy about wonder. That's the secret under all the secrets. All of it was in service of making you feel the weight of that fall. And here's my question for longtime fans watching it now. Does the ending hit differently than it did 20 years ago? Because I swear Kong's death feels heavier now than it did when I was younger. Maybe it's because we live in a world where we've become numb to spectacle. Or maybe it's because 20 years later, we finally understand what Jackson was actually trying to tell us. That beauty and wildness are fragile, and the world will always choose civilization over wonder. Want more secrets from movies that changed everything? Check out my next video on Poltergeist.